Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to our conversation today. I'm Lori Lamantia.
I'm Tricia, and we're both happy to be here today.
Yes, we're very excited. And the topic for today is safety, and specifically how safety, creating a sense of safety, feeling safe within our lives and in our bodies, helps facilitate the flow of abundance. And one of the reasons why what we're going to be covering today is talking about the first chakra and the energy center where we originate from and feel, that sense of belonging and security. And also, starting to do an inquiry within ourselves around where we feel safe, when we feel safe, why we might not feel safe. Use this as a little bit of an idea to, go deeper within yourself and say, do I really feel safe? And where and in what places within my life? Because as we cultivate more and more safety as divine beings, the intention is that we're so blessed and we're so divine that we should quote unquote feel safe. But we do start out, many of us, in a place of scarcity or survival, let's say. And the journey from survival to where we have been talking from it, the abundance place, is and requires that look at, do I feel safe? And how do I give myself a sense of safety, which will translate into peace? Tricia, how would you phrase this from your perspective?
From the first chakra is its root and grounding. And I'm going to refer to, and as we talk about this, I'm going to keep coming back to this because it's pretty powerful. It's a book called Anatomy of the Spirit. It's written by Carolyn Meese, and it's the 7 stages of power and healing. So it's her discussion on the chakras. And she says specifically the energy content of the first chakra is tribal power. And it speaks to group identity, group force, group willpower, group belief patterns. And it's our connection to traditional familial beliefs that support the formation of our identity and a sense of belonging to a group of people. So it's, again, and what I want to stress here, it's the formation of an identity. It's not our actual identity, but it's the beliefs that we hook up to while we're deciding who we are before we go through the process, of course, of trying to totally break that down again.
Yes,
Right,
good point.
right,
Good point.
right.
And I have heard that say that, that's why sometimes you choose to look a certain way or dress a certain way, or, you take on mannerisms so that that mirror the people in your life so that you feel safe. So you feel like you're one of them and a part of the tribe, which gives you that sense of security, technically, that we're looking for.
Right.
And that's the start of it. And of course we build up the chakra system, but for the purposes of our conversation around safety, I do think that's a really good point about formation. And also what you said, that who we really are as a divine being. If we allowed ourselves to just veer from that original foundation, sometimes it's scary, but it can also be very freeing, because then we get to make choice for ourselves about what makes us feel safe, when we really feel safe. And of course, as we cultivate our practice of reconnecting every day with the abundance and the prosperity unconditionally, over time, I think, for me, I've noticed I do feel much more safe. I do feel, a move from survival to thriving. But I was saying to Trish before we started, I this is a little bit dicey for me because I still do struggle with safety. as a person. And especially when I think about surrendering completely to the divine, I always get this fear, like something bad's going to happen to me, something, terrible to get me to prove my love for God or something. I don't know if it's from the crucifixion or something, from my upbringing about, I was brought up Catholic, so I've got original sin. I don't know. There's still all that fear that comes in around, well, if I totally give over to God, did I do, am I good enough? Have I made it far enough? Or have I done right by whatever that energy is? So I think it's still primal. I think that's also in that root chakra.
Right. And that would be tribal. That would also be things that you learned from your family. I mean, even look at the saints in the Catholic Church. They've all, suffered these
Martyr.
great pain, right? Martyr. They have these terrible, painful experiences. So I have the same experience as you of in unexpected moments, I have experienced the beauty of the divine. But when I sit with the intention of surrendering, that's when I struggle. That's when I struggle and I can feel my resistance come up. So I think, and it goes back to our root chakra and what did we learn from our tribe? And our tribe was our families and our church, because in my family, the church was a very big deal.
Right.
Going to church every Sunday. And I grew up in a small town, Meadowdale, Illinois, and there wasn't even, when I was really little, there wasn't even a strip mall yet, or maybe there was one. But so the church was not just what we did on Sundays, it was our community and our social life. So so all of that stuff really, makes a big impact. And our work, if you will, is really to go back and go through those beliefs and those things and decide consciously what serves me now and what doesn't serve me. What do I let go of? But often we don't know what those beliefs are until a resistance comes up or something comes up and takes us by surprise. So it's, it can be,
when you were saying that, I was, as you were talking, I was like, do I even trust myself? When I were to go back and to do the personal inquiry on me, I'm like, do I trust myself to keep myself safe? And that journey's been also, and that kind of goes back to, because I do believe you pick your parents in some ways, and you pick your situation, so I'm like, why did I do this to myself? And so I think that needs to be part of the safety and security conversation, inquiry also is, do we trust ourselves? And and what happened to us as a younger, let's say a younger person, is a setup of some sort so that we can, just pop and free ourselves from all those things. Because I do believe we are contributing to a collective higher vibration and betterment of the whole, the oneness that is us, called, us, God, us. As we all come here as little pieces, we're doing our unique part. And I do think our unique part is looking at where we've set ourselves up so we can go, hey, oh yeah, thanks. I see it, I feel it, I honor it. But that doesn't have to be me going forward or, like that, and that sense of safety can come, it can come from us too. And I get when people are in survival, I'm surviving, and you look around the world and you see a lot of, sad things. So it does seem like a lot of people are in survival, but we're lucky enough to be able to, have relative safe lives here in but let's say in the United States. And so I think we can hold space for safety too.
Right. I would agree. Energetically, we can hold a lot for the whole of consciousness, um, through our intention. And yeah, again, it goes back to our energy field. Ourselves as energetic beings is our connection to the universe. We're created from there, and we're part of that too. Our physical selves are only one part of who we are as a whole. And that's the part of us that we really need to be willing to allow, is experiencing ourselves as energy beings, the subtle body, and not just, physical beings and touch and stuff like that. So in a sense, it's like we learn from our tribe, and then we start to unlearn it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is the work of being human. And in my tradition of Tantra, it's we, as souls, we do come back because we have karmic lessons to learn. So you were saying we choose, but we come back to unlearn. Here's one way my teacher put it that helps me understand it really clearly. He said once, very specifically, that in the moment that we pass, we see ourselves as divine. And whatever part of us that we can't accept as divine, that's the karma we come back with to our next life. But it's to learn that we're divine there as well. So it's like I come into back to this life with a specific lesson to learn and these specific gifts, to unlearn and to take it apart again and see myself as divine. So, all right. So as we're talking about it now, I'm starting to flip it in my head. So these moments when we're recognizing we're not surrendering or seeing ourselves as divine, that's the beautiful opportunity to start taking that apart and figure out, what is it that's blocking? What is it standing in my way? What is that shadow that's preventing me from seeing my whole beautiful, energetic self already as divine? That's the gift and the burden, if you will.
Right. But the key is not to work too hard at it, right? The key is to say, I see it, but it's not, and honor it as that part of our growth, but maybe not to wallow in it too much, to see it, pop it.
Right. I feel that once we truly allow ourselves to recognize and come up with what that shadow is, I think the work part of it is the patience and openness to let it come up. Right.
Yeah.
I think once it's brought into the light, it goes.
Right.
It's no longer that pull anymore. So the work isn't letting go of it. I think the work is figuring out how to allow it to percolate and come up
and see
to recognize, to see it. Right.
And I do think that's one of the other reasons. I think safety, people might, I think we don't even sometimes realize how hard we're working to keep ourselves safe. It's so unconscious now, so if we did the inquiry towards, well, what about that? If I have a reaction, what about that made me feel unsafe? Did my ego get threatened? Did my livelihood get threatened? Or whatever? I don't know. But it seems to me at the root of a lot of my abundance issues is scarcity, which is a fear of, or some safety issue. That's what it feels like to me right now as we're talking and kind of digging deeper into as I allow my abundance, and I've got a lot of coping skills. I got a ton of them. I think we all do if we're at this point in our lives, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
But to really see and address that felt sense of safety and peace. And what you were saying, we come from that place of safety and divine and grace, right? So if you just see it, and it's the grace that I think holds us in pure love and unconditionality, and that's what pops the issue. It not pops it. What's the right? Like you said, it just gets transformed.
Right. Once it's revealed, it becomes energy as well.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. It's released. Right.
Yes.
Well, one of the things Panache was saying, and I've been thinking about it because I was at his conference last year or last weekend, was um, that one of the reasons why we're so afraid to really become enlightened is that we're not sure about God. We're afraid of God. And it's a little bit of what I was saying before, that well, what's going to happen to me when I totally surrender, when I totally allow myself to fall? It's almost like like what I keep seeing is, where people hold their hands out and you fall backwards into their arms. I can't remember, like a trust fall. It feels
Right.
like a trust fall to me, and I'm like, I trust, but what if, I didn't do something right and I fall and I fall and I fall. And that's got to be tribal. It's totally got to be tribal. Like, it's not the truth, right? It's not.
Right.
That's not
Right.
of the divine. That's of something I learned when I was teeny tiny. If then else. If you're not a good, if you're not a good Lori, I'm not. I'm going to withhold. And that, I hold no animosity to anybody who taught me that, but now it's mine. You
Right.
know.
Well, and these beliefs are passed down. So the person that you learned it from their
Right.
person, learned it
Yeah.
right. Right. So it's, yeah,
Do you
the
mind
right.
Do you mind talking about your Nidra experience?
Oh, no, not at all. So I have been, again, doing this particular yoga nidra that is at the end. I have a sankalpa, which is um, this how I want my life to be, or how my life is. And in my sankalpa, and you can have a sankalpa, it's whatever you want in your life, or wherever direction you want to go, or whatever. And we've talked about this before too. This is I just had a birthday, and this is like my last chapter, and I want it rich, I want it full. So thus my sankalpa, rich, full chapter of my life. Anyway, so I start my yoga nidra, and I'm clear now that this is what's happening. I get through the phase of physically relaxing. I get through the phase of clearing my mind and watching my breath, and I'm totally relaxed, and you're laying down, so your body's relaxing and kind of asleep, but the mind is paying attention, and we go into the heart, and I'm doing that. And this is guided. So I'm listening to a voice guide me through this. And then the very last part of it is moving into my sankalpa and feeling it is already completed. And I fell asleep right when it was time to go into sankalpa. I was awake and aware through the whole practice, except for, and honestly, it's like the last 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And then the next thing I heard was, okay, start to come back to your breath, and it's time to
So you
come
woke
back.
up for
Right.
that.
Right. I woke up for that. So, and this isn't the first time I've been aware of that there's some part of really letting go and surrendering this that I'm resisting. So to me, I want to look at why. what is it that I'm resisting, and what's my fear? And same thing as you. I know one day when I was doing it, when I got to that part, I actually thought, I had the thought, well, if I surrender, like, who's going to run my business?
Right,
Yeah, right.
right.
Which, yeah, so there is that little bit of fear there that if I totally surrender, that my life is going to turn instead of being this divinely peaceful, joyful life, that it's going to dissolve and turn into a mess. When it's probably my resistance to surrender that turns my life into a mess.
Well,
But yeah,
yeah, I don't see your life as a mess, but I
no,
do see how, this is what we're talking, this is the nugget, right?
right.
That, we might be resisting a whole different level of grace and a beauty and, peace that, by us having to protect in like a survival mode, for lack of a better word, and I know there's varying degrees of survival mode, but is there some layer of grace that would unfold into our lives if we had more comfort about that trust, that where we come from? When you were saying that, I was thinking back to what you said about your teacher who said, we're here to remember, to teach ourselves to remember to see where we forgot that we're divine. And you sort of said it there, but how would you say that what would you say in response to that question? Why did you come back here? What's the yoga nidra showing you?
Well, so far, what it's showing me that I have fear of totally surrendering. If I reflect honestly about my life, I don't let go, and I don't even take vacations very often. And even when I get sick, it's hard for me to not still think I have to get up and go to work. And um, I guess I've always believed that I have to manage and be in charge of things, and if I don't, it'll just turn into a whole shithole. And right, so yeah, that I right that I need to be in charge, and I need to be managing all the time. Yeah, including getting to this final stage of yoga nidra and being reluctant to totally let go and just float into the divine, not doing, non-doing.
Yeah, effortlessness,
Yes,
flow. Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
Some part of you does, though, doesn't it? It has to.
Yes. Well, like I said, the times that I'm able to really experience my connection to the divine are not when I'm sitting around consciously thinking about it. It's been like this kind of came in sideways kind of thing. And I wasn't trying to manage it, which tells me that in a way I'm trying to manage my experience of my yoga nidra.
Yeah. Which is understandable to keep ourselves safe. Even that.
Or whatever, to memorize what it is so I can recite it. Right.
Yeah. I and I honor that in you. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for sharing. And I think we all have those things, when we're when we're getting clearer and clearer about the thing that, we see in ourselves. And it does, it brings up not only, for me, it brings up some sadness, it brings up fear, it brings up anger. There's a lot of stuff mixed up in it, and around, I can't, Lord, because Lori, God, right? It's like I have a conscious understanding of that love. I mean, it makes quote unquote perfect sense to me how we get here. But then there's some part of me that just is like, but what about, and what if? And it still I can't make the leap to, and therefore I'll be okay. I can make the
Mm.
leap that it's okay. I can't make the leap that I'll be okay in it, which is, I still find fascinating. And I think it is a root chakra issue. It's a root thing. It's like what you just said. If you're not managing, what, is the whole thing going to go to shit? So the root is, I better manage it, otherwise it's going to shit.
Right.
And the idea
And
of not managing it and letting it go to shit, that's not acceptable, right? It is
right,
completely not acceptable.
right. Yes. Yeah. And the thing is, I don't think if we hadn't had if moments of complete surrender and touching the love and grace of creator divine, I don't think we would be so obsessed
Right?
with trying to figure it out. Right.
Mhm.
That's why I know I've experienced beautiful moments. Um, and I think in this moment, I'm thinking they must have snuck up on me.
Right? Yeah, they squeaked in while you were busy keep
right,
managing
right.
everything.
While I was busy managing something, right? And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, in this moment, I've just decided I'm trying to manage my yoga nidra instead of just allowing it to happen.
Mm,
I'm trying to manage it. And
mm.
that's why when I get to that part that I'm supposed to totally surrender and let go, I don't, yeah.
Fall asleep. And this is a beautiful conversation from my person, for me, because it truly is an abundance allowing question, right? And
Mhm.
we have a hard time comprehending because we're human and we've gone through so much and we have had a formation of certain things come into our lives, whether we wanted it or not. We've learned to deal with it. We've, let's all say we're all pretty good at it. But it's really hard to conceive of this kind of unconditional grace and unconditional love, and you're okay just as you are, and and managing stuff because you do it well. There's something behind you even going, I got your back and all that too. I think those are hard for us to comprehend, but I think that's the kind of beyond abundance that I think that really wants to show itself to us. It's in that poem you did, and it's in the poem I talked about in a few weeks ago. It's in there. It's like, here, take, eat. And we go, oh, not sure. And then it keeps saying, here, take, eat, whatever you want. And we say, yeah, but, and then I think at some point, and I feel like we're getting closer and closer to that, especially as we address the root chakra, that we go, oh, thank you. I wouldn't mind that. And I'd like a taste of that. And yum. You know, uh, earning and managing aside, it- you know, something like that. So I guess we're getting close to time. I think the way I would wrap it is spend some time in the safety inquiry. Um, where are you feeling like you have to survive? Where are you in scarcity? And maybe the real question is, what are you really, what is a fear? Like you were gracious enough to say, if I don't manage I'm afraid that if I don't manage everything and keep managing it, things are going to melt down. That's and all we have to do is see it, right? And allow it to come up. And my guess is all of a sudden you'll burst into tears or you'll have a rage moment and just say, okay, that's okay. How would you wrap it?
I would, yeah, for me, again, what I've just decided is to look at my beliefs about how I need to order everything in such a particular way. Why do I believe I need to be in charge of everything and manage it? And look at some times in my life where wonderful things happened, and was I managing them, or did they come up from the rear and surprise me? So I think, yeah, one of the things I'm going to do is kind of take a look at in my life when wonderful things and surprises came up. Where was my headspace? What was I thinking, and what was I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And did they come up and knock me over the head, or was I managing them? And I'm laughing because I know I wasn't managing them, or they wouldn't have come up and been great surprises. So yeah, so allowing myself to loosen that fear, because it is a fear that I need to be micromanaging everything to be safe.
Beautiful. And, to anybody who has a chance to listen to this, it's a worthwhile inquiry, right? To see where we have been afraid, or we're trying to keep ourselves safe, because inside of that, it might be something that can be seen or honored and acknowledged. And every little bit goes towards more, allowance of the natural grace that is always, a giant buffet of here, taste, eat, enjoy, repeat. So thank you, Trish, for your generous contribution, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.